Hello and welcome to my channel History and Guys. My name is Philip and today I want to talk about my visit to the Haithabu Museum in Schleswig in northern Germany. Haithabu Museum is a predominantly archaeological museum, but it's a bit unconventional in that way that they also have a outside area where they have reconstructed some houses and also some ships that you can see. And on weekends like the weekend where we were there are actually also events going on. Unfortunately for us, the weather was not very nice. In fact, it was raining most of the time, so we didn't spend that much time at the outside area. Even though there was a market as well, a market fair, which was quite nice, really. Lots of interesting vendors, but the weather was really not putting us into a mood to stay there longer. And when I say we, I actually mean me and my dad, which was really nice to get him out and about, especially because the Vikings have been a topic for him, that were his subject in his kind of master thesis at university like 50 years ago. So it's kind of back to the roots for him. Now here on the first photo, we can actually see the buildings of the museum, and they are a bit shaped like upturned boats, and I think that's fairly much intended because the boats are a very crucial part of Haithabu. And now when we go into the museum, you will notice that the museum is set up in different areas. And unfortunately, the light was very, very dark in some areas, so it was really hard to get decent photographs. Hence, the coverage is a little bit thinner than I originally intended it to be. Nevertheless, let's just get into it and go into the first hall. And the first hall features an overview over what Haithabu actually was and still is in some ways. Haithabu was a Viking settlement in the 9th century, and it was a major trading hub because it was connecting the North Sea and the Baltic Sea by the ways of shipping up and down the rivers, as well as a short trek across the countryside. And Haithabu is very interesting because it was archaeologically explored, and we will see a lot of findings from those diggings. And already here in the first hall, we can see that there are, on the one hand, the archaeological diggings, but on the other hand, the attempt to reconstruct what actually existed here more than 1000 years ago in ways of rebuilding the houses and rediscovering the trade routes. Now if we go into the next room, which is unfortunately not very well documented in this video because, as you can see, it's very, very dark. Here we see the different crafts and arts that were present in the area, and it shows that Haithabu was not just a trading place, but also a place where people produced goods and wares of all kinds in order to trade with them. The next hall was unfortunately equally dark, and it covers mostly the area of religion, rituals, and also of rule, because we have some model from a grave site that was found here. Actually, there were several grave sites that were found and explored, and some of them were of very high status people. So they have some models of that as well. Unfortunately, the photos I took from those expositions are garbage, so I won't bother you with them. Nevertheless, the halls are both very, very interesting, and I think it's very nice to get an idea what everyday life looked like, what people were believing in, and how the society was structured. Now, if we go to the next room, this one is one of my favorite ones in the museum because it is very well designed, in my opinion. It shows Haithabu as the center of the world, so to speak, and around it there are all the different places with which the traders in Haithabu traded. So you can find a lot of different artifacts here in those showcases, and they were all found here in Haithabu and the immediate area. And that is a very conclusive proof that the trading relationships went from England, Scandinavia, to the whole of the Baltic Sea, to what is now Ukraine, to the Mediterranean, as well as to the eastern Mediterranean, so basically what would be the Arab countries by exact point. And it just shows how skilled the people were that lived here and that were trading here to connect with the whole known world back then. And I think like the whole way this exposition is set up really shows it very well how this was working. And now we get to the last room, and this one is dedicated to the harbor of Haithabu, because one of the most impactful finds that was unearthed here are the remains of a longship, a rather large one actually, and we see a model of this longship as well as a model of a Knar, which is a trading ship. And down in the pit, so to speak, we see a mix of the longship original, so the remains of the timber bars that were found, and then in the second half we see the reconstruction of the ship. And the interesting part is that they also show a lot of the other archaeological finds that were found in the harbor, because as they say there, and I think this is very logical, when you move goods around in a harbor, there will be always stuff that drops into the sea. And most of the stuff people will not bother to dive for and try to find it. Or they might not even notice it's missing until it's too late. So there are very rich findings made in the former harbor of Haithabu, and those are all shown here on the ground, kind of symbolizing that they were found on the ground of the harbor. So this is the tour through the inside of the museum, and I personally like it a lot because it's set up very well. It's very modern exhibition. You could see that there were a lot of children, families, but also senior people there. So a very healthy mix of visitors. And my dad actually liked it as well. He is a retired teacher, so he has his own perspective on how a museum should probably look like, and he enjoyed it a lot. But that was not all, and now we go to the outside area. Now, in Haithabu, they reconstructed 6-7 buildings, I believe. Unfortunately, they were slightly, rather strongly damaged by a recent storm flood, and they're in the process of rebuilding it. Nevertheless, we could go there, and there were, because of the fair, there were a lot of people in the houses as well, and kind of doing what you might call a reenactment, so kind of living history. And you could see some people working on trades, some people just selling stuff, some people having some entertainment for the children. And overall, it's really lovely. The boats that you can see here are actually reconstructions from boats that were found in the area as well. So one is a simple canoe and the other one is a proper ship. And then after we went through the houses here, we also went quickly through the market. I thought it was for a medieval fair or whatever you might call this. It was a pretty good one because there were lots of different traders with different offers. Obviously, your mileage varies from skill to skill, but generally it was, despite of the lucky weather, it was quite a good atmosphere there. So that is our trip to Haithabu. If you are in the area of Schleswig, I can really recommend it to you. If you want to spend some more time, then you can go to the Castle Gottorf, which is also in Schleswig. It houses a huge museum with all kinds of stuff, from arts, from just exhibiting the castle itself, as well as some expositions in regards of archaeology, in regards of um, the history of this house, of the people who lived here. And overall, you can see that it's not quite as modern in terms of the setup, but it's still quite interesting. And it houses one particular artifact that I found very interesting. I again apologize for the poor quality of the video and of the photos. And that is a Newgam ship. The Newgam ship was a ship found in the moors here in the area, and it predates the Viking era. So this is basically, I believe, from the 5th or 6th century, and it's a rowing ship only. And this is the origin. It's not a reconstruction. This is how it was found and how it's now being maintained. And I think it's very interesting because it shows already some of the construction features, namely the planking that we later see with the Viking longboats as well. And obviously the only major part of the puzzle that's missing, and that was makes the Vikings probably so successful, is the combination of sail and rudder. So this was mainly designed to move along the coast, I guess. So I hope you like this little insight into the museums in Schleswig. I highly recommend going here. I was here for the second time within like 5 or 6 years, I believe. And I can really also recommend it for people who can't speak German actually, because at least the Haithabu Museum was completely translated into English language, and they also have audio guides here to listen to it in English. I'm not entirely sure whether they also offer guides in other languages, but I guess you can check it out on their website. I will link it in the description. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the tour through the museum. If you like the video, please don't hesitate to subscribe and to comment. Until next time.